Hello, hello, hello. Whew. Hi, I'm Sarah. I was a primary school teacher in the UK for almost a decade. And this time last year, on this very day, in fact, I walked out of my last classroom for the final time because I quit teaching. I absolutely loved teaching for so many reasons, and in fact, I still do. And the reason that I still do is because I quit. So I thought it was a good time, 1 year on, to reflect on why I left, how I left, and to start a brand new journey with a YouTube video. So I've been teaching since I was about 12. I started teaching dancing. I was a primary school teacher in 3 different schools. I taught children from age 5 to 11, many children, and education was and is my passion. And then I left. The reason I'm able to still love it is because when I left, I started a tutoring business. Tutoring has reminded me what teaching is, why I loved it so much, and all the joy that I can get from teaching. So I have a cup of tea, I've settled in to go through a few of the reasons that finally pushed me to leave teaching. The first thing is that I was never supposed to be teaching forever. That was never the plan. In fact, when I left uni, I was a bit annoyed at myself for being so predictable and going straight into teaching straight after uni. When you get to the end of uni, there's this sea of grad schemes. And the teaching route that I took, I did teach first, was the most appealing option for me right then. It really called to me, and I planned to try it for 2 years because that's the length of time the Teach First programme lasts, and then see where I was with it. And then I got into schools and, again, predictably, found it unbelievably fulfilling and rewarding and absolutely the place that I wanted to be. But the whole time, I was always saying, if I find a job I want to do more than this, then I would leave. So I looked occasionally at other jobs, but that didn't happen. Nothing really called to me. I still enjoy being in the classroom. Nothing beats a day with kids. It's totally unpredictable and hilarious and stressful and challenging and busy all at the same time. I love the independence of teaching right from the start. I had my own space, I had my own classroom, I could structure my day. I really felt like it brought out the best in me when I was 22, 23. Building relationships with those kids, particularly in primary, they're your class, they're your kids, and you really get to know them in a way that I think is very special and very rare in the world of work. And I'm also genuinely really passionate about and fascinated by learning. I love learning. I love education. I think it's so powerful. I wanted to spend all this time improving my teaching and coming up with ideas for school. And I was almost happy for it to take over my life because I loved it. But it was always in the back of my mind that I did not want my whole life to be go through school, then to university, then back to school, and then I retire. I always wanted to try different things for the variety, for the experiences, not because I think there's anything wrong with that path. I just knew that I would want change and I wanted to experience a lot of different types of career. So I knew I'd stop teaching when it stopped being enjoyable, and that happened. Whew. I'm going to chat for a long time. I can feel it coming. So that's my personal reason. And that sounds like it should have been easy. Stopped enjoying it, off I went. That, if anyone is in teaching right now, you know that's not how it works. That's not what happened. I was there for a decade, and for quite a lot of that time, I was not thriving. It's the systemic issues that really pushed me out, as is happening for teachers across the country, and from what I can gather across many countries at the moment. There is a crisis in teaching in the UK at the moment. There are not enough teachers. There definitely are not enough experienced teachers. And a lot of people leaving, I know, do have similar reasons for me. Not everybody, but a lot of people. So it should have been an easy choice. Stopped enjoying it, left. No. When I needed a change from my first school, it was fine, but when I needed a change, I moved to 2 different schools. I had one awful experience, and one was my last ditch attempt of this. If this school doesn't work, then I'm going to leave. I never stopped loving the teaching and being with the kids at any point, but I thought maybe it's the schools. Let's try some different ones. Let's see what it's like somewhere else. You know, some schools are better than others, some are worse than others, but having taught in 3 different schools and done some supply and have a lot of friends who are in teaching, I really think these issues mostly are stemming from our education system that we have at the moment, and there's only so much the people in the actual schools can do to mitigate that. I really truly believe that this system at the moment doesn't bring out the best in anybody. Staff, children, people making a success of teaching, I do think are the exception right now and not the rule. There are some people doing it. I know them. More power to them. But the majority of people I know feel like they're failing, or at least they're struggling. And it's mad that that's a majority of teachers. So when I've talked to people about why I've left teaching, there are 2 main areas that I refer to. One is curriculum, and the other is the funding and lack of services in the public sector in general, not just education. So curriculum is my first one. I think parts of the UK primary curriculum are quite frankly ridiculous. Children are being asked to learn things that are too advanced at too young an age when they're not ready for them. I think it's insane that we expect children to be able to read age 4. All children, some are ready, many are not. And I don't think we save any time by forcing them to start early, to be honest. Some of the maths that we do at Key Stage 2 is just mad, and children really struggle and feel like they're failing with it, when actually, if they waited and did it 2 years later, they would really get it. I think a lot of it's irrelevant. That fronted adverbial springs to mind, that infamous grammar term, but there are many of them. We're trying to cram in too much, so the pace is too fast. Nothing really gets a chance to settle and to really be learned well and deeply, because we're just rushing through it. And then that then leads to an almost exclusive focus on English and maths, because that's what's tested at the end of Key Stage 2. And you have to cram so much into those. There's no time for lots of other subjects, definitely not to do them well and in the way that people's primary school memories of the past are, when they had these really inspiring teachers and did these amazing projects. There's just so little time for it. Because the curriculum is poor and because the curriculum doesn't suit the children, this then leads to more behaviour issues, which are a challenge in every single school I know. It leads to workload pressures, because you're trying to cram everything in, you're trying to bend time, thinking, oh, I can fit it all in, if only we can just get that extra 5 minutes from somewhere. You can't, but you keep trying because teachers really care. It leads to issues of self-esteem and confidence for the staff and the children. The staff because they know they're not fitting everything in, we know we're not meeting those needs, and the children because they're being asked to do something that they're not ready for, so they feel like they're failing. It makes them feel inadequate, and there's just no time or space to properly meet the needs of anyone who can't keep up for whatever reason. You end up feeling like you're not meeting anyone's needs. You're not meeting the needs of children who have additional needs because you don't have the time or resources to do that. And then you're also not meeting the needs of the rest of the class, because you're spending all your time trying to work a miracle. That really broke my heart, feeling like I wasn't making an education that worked for anybody. This curriculum shuts children off from wanting to learn as well. If my education was solely fronted adverbial and long division based, then I would not be enthusiastic about learning either. and that has such far-reaching consequences. And then just as a final point on curriculum, SATs are absurd. They ruin year 6 for so many children. They're stressful, they take over the whole year. I have children at the end of year 5 or year 4 that are worried about SATs coming up. It's a whole other video, but it breaks my heart. Second big thing that really eventually pushed me to leave teaching is the lack of services and support. If you're in the UK, you know about the funding issues for public services here, not just in education, but it does have a knock-on effect because schools are then expected to provide so much that is outside their remit for children and for families. We're expected to provide mental health services, sometimes physical health services for disabled children, physiotherapy, expected to be social services and family support, occupational therapy, speech and language, social emotional support. The list goes on. It could continue. And these are all things schools have always done and should be involved in, absolutely. But schools are expected to be experts in this and lead this for the children that need it. And we're not trained in that. So nobody's getting a good service. Nobody's getting the support they need. And it's a huge pressure on schools. And this is mainstream schools. It's unsustainable. People keep saying we're going to get to a crisis point. We're there. We're not approaching. We're at crisis point. An example that really sticks in my mind is seeing a referral come back from CAMS, the Children's Mental Health Support Service, to school saying, yes, based on your referral, this child absolutely does need mental health support, but unfortunately they don't meet our threshold, so please can school provide that? I can't add anything more to that. I just think the system is broken and that's not going to be the best thing for that child. So all of that combines to put a huge workload and huge emotional pressure on school staff. I was exhausted all the time, a real bone deep exhaustion. I know I'm not alone in that. You never feel like you're being successful at your job, even though there are lots of little successes and lots of positives there, but it takes a huge toll. And something needs to change with that. And I did what I could to change it, and it just didn't work. So the final push that got me out, it was coming for a long time. It was building up for a long time. But the result of all of these different factors is that schools are often very stressful places to be. And I think you end up seeing the worst side of a lot of people, particularly if they're in leadership roles and have all that pressure. It does not bring out the best in people. When I left, I was working in a school that I had really loved, but it was still trapped in that broken system. It was becoming more and more stressful. I was becoming unwell. I was having panic attacks. By that point, I was in a leadership role as well, which again, I loved so much of that role. And I was so excited to do it, but I still couldn't solve problems or really feel like I was improving the things that were wrong. And I thought, if I can get to that point and not feel like I'm making a difference, then where do you go from there? It just felt like there was no way through. I had already requested to drop to 4 days a week to see if being part-time would help. And then there was a change of leadership in school, which accelerated the decision to leave, but it was coming. So last September, I handed my notice in, and on my day off, I started setting up my tutoring business, started my exit plan, and it was by far the best decision I could have made. I was tutoring in the evenings and on my day off and on Saturdays before I finished teaching, and I remember thinking, oh, this is teaching. That's what teaching is. I'd forgotten. It's not crowd control. It's not behaviour management. It's not trying to create absurd time travelling timetables that will never fit. It's sitting down with a child and helping them learn something. Oh, and I just fell back in love with teaching, and it's made me feel like a teacher again, which I did not feel like when, ironically, that was my job title. So, why YouTube now? I spent the last year talking to people about how I got out, advising people who want to do the same thing. Pretty much every teacher I talk to asks, how did I do it? I know so many people that are also going into tutoring, and I wanted to share what I've learned because, as I said, it was the best decision that I could have made for myself this time last year. I'm like a different person now, and I've seen it in other people. So I want to share the love, share the knowledge. I'm going to share information about my life as a tutor now, the resources I use, how I've made a success of it, and just help other people who want to follow that same path. I just want to talk about teaching, tutoring, and education because, as I said, I love it. I'm so passionate about it. I can talk about it all day. Um, so that is the plan. I have lots of ideas of videos to make, but I'm more than open to suggestions. Um, if you have found this little video and watched it, I don't know if anyone will, let me know who you are. What do you do? Are you still in the classroom? Are you a tutor? Have you left the classroom? You're doing something else? You're not a teacher at all. Fill me in. What do you do? How are you feeling right now? How are you getting on? And is there anything you'd like me to share? I've never done anything like this before, so it's pretty scary, but also exciting because I really believe in what I'm doing. That's it from me. I hope you're having a great day. I hope you're having a great Christmas if you're watching this around Christmas time. Um, and I'm looking forward to sharing many, many videos in 2024. Stick around, subscribe if you want to see some more, and hopefully I will see you again soon. Bye.